Should I rent or should I buy? It depends, it depends on the individual circumstances. But in this video, I can go through the pros and cons of each one, and then I suppose then you can make an informed decision, decide what is appropriate for your own individual circumstances. So, hello, if you're new to the channel, my name is Felicia. I'm a former actuary, property investor. I retire early, and so in this channel I provide educational material so that you can have an insight into how I managed to retire early, and then you can then make an informed decision and create your own path to financial freedom, financial place of financial peace. So in this channel I talk about mindset, money and wealth creation. So today's video is all about renting or buying. Right, to rent. Renting, pros and cons. Renting, you have flexibility, you just need to give a month's notice, you can move on to another town, another country, and yeah, it gives you a lot of flexibility. If the boiler breaks down or something with a leak, all you have to do is pick up a phone and phone the management company or the landlord, and it's all fixed. So you've got your rent and it's fixed, and you can budget budget because you're not thinking about all the extra costs in owning your own property. So that's the pros of renting. The downside of renting is that you don't own the property. The landlord could decide to sell up or give you a 2 months notice, and you're forced to move from your home. So the security isn't there. So for me personally, I was made homeless at a very young age. I was very young, so it was my mum who really took all the stress of all that. So I've always wanted to own my own property just to have that security, because I don't want to go through that pain I went through when I was younger. So left university and always had a mission to save up and to buy a property. So buying a property gives you the security. Properties in the UK, because we live in Ireland, does go up in value, but the equity does increase over the years, but it's long and slow and steady, because when I bought my first property, I bought it at the peak, and 2 months later it went down, and took about 12 years for it to go back to the position I bought it at. So property isn't really an investment vehicle, it's really a home, really. So, but it's a home that gives you security, but it comes with its downside. So if there's a broken boiler, the roof is leaking, or you need to sort out the bathroom, blah, 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 it's on you. So you're paying the mortgage to the mortgage company. You still need to have some funds available for the extra things like repairs and maintenance. So it does give you, it's extra responsibility, but it's like a price you pay for having your own secured home So that's why it really depends what you want in your life. That's my back story. So the things that when you come to buy properties, I'll move on to buying the properties now. The things that people don't talk about when you're trying to buy a property is that, okay, so we talk about you need a deposit. If you're buying it for your own self, sometimes you can get a 5% and 10% deposit. All you need is those sort of schemes available for first-time buyers or home owners. So, but if you're buying for investment purposes, you tend to need a higher deposit, 20-25%. Let's focus on buying it for yourself, home ownership. So the hidden costs are, deposit is not hidden, we all know we need to put down a deposit. The legal fees tends to be higher than the expected, between £1,200 to £2,000, depending where you are in England. London, somehow the solicitors tend to charge you higher, so it's closer to £2,000 than £1,000. The arrangement fee to your broker, the mortgage broker, sometimes it's £200, £300, £500, so that allow for that mortgage. It's worth having a mortgage because they can walk you through all the implication of applying for a mortgage. And sometimes in a hot market, they need agreement in principle for your offer to be accepted. So the mortgage broker can explain all that to you. So you've got the arrangement fee, legal fees, you've got the survey, home buyer survey or structural survey. If you're buying an older property, you need to make sure you've got some money set aside for a survey, and that's recommended because it comes out you get a professional person going into the property to sort out, to see what, to assess the risk before you buy the property. So in the last year or so, I've been trying to help my daughter to buy her property. So with my insights, we've done things like several surveys, and in the survey, things like structural issues have come up. So it's money well saved, money well spent in getting the survey done when buying your property. So, and you also got things like, if you're buying a leasehold property, solicitors tend to charge more because there's more work involved in going through the legal pack, because it's when you're buying a leasehold property, there's a lease involved, and so all those checks need to be done by the solicitor, the conveyance solicitor. Sometimes you get the keys, it's all yours, you're really excited, you turn the heater on, the heater doesn't work, the boiler isn't working, so there's there's emergency costs like having a new boiler installed. So set aside money for that, or the electrics needs to be updated. So money needs to be set up aside for that as well. So home ownership is a big thing, and it's not, one shouldn't see it as an investment. It's more something to do because it's you're buying it for yourself and have a sense of security. Is it the most efficient thing to do? If you look at it mathematically, or if you dig out the spreadsheet, does it make sense to buy a home for yourself? Well, the home does go up in value, but when you come to, you're not going to sell your home and become homeless in retirement. So it's and then people talk about downsizing down in retirement, but when you're used to a certain size of a house, you're not going to sell your 3-bed, 4-bed house to cram into a 1-bed. So some people may, some people may not, but it's easier said than done. People tend to say, well, I'll just downsize and release the equity, but it is quite a difficult thing to do when you come to retirement. So hope I've teased out the pros and cons of renting versus buying, and essentially depends on your own individual circumstances, and buying comes with the responsibility but just give you security. So comment below if you've got any comments below, please do. I reply to all my comments, and thanks for listening.